All right, here's my little rant about why we go to space. Humans have always explored, right? From the as far back as we go, humans will be pushing the boundaries. They'll be wanting to cross a creek, and soon they want to cross a river, and soon we want to cross a lake, and then a sea, and then an ocean. Soon we want to climb the highest mountains, the deepest seas. All those things are great. You know, all those things are humans pushing the boundaries, but I don't think that's a reason enough to put so much time, resources, and energy into spaceflight. I think the real beauty of spaceflight, to me, is when you get people, like, spaceflight is unbelievably hard. You know, to get humans into orbit, to get humans into an environment where they don't belong. Like, frankly, no one belongs in space. There's a reason we're down here on Earth in an environment perfectly catered to the evolution of our bodies, right? We are made to live right here. And there's even parts on Earth, and go into the ocean. You're not meant to live in the ocean, you know. We are tailor-made for right here, right now. To get humans to live outside of Earth, it takes unbelievable problem solving. And at first, you know, space was kind of seen as this, like, sort of gimmick and arms race because, you know, if you can control space, you can, you know, control the nukes, you can control precision missiles and intercontinental ballistic missiles. The next thing you know, we're starting to put humans up. And in order to solve those problems of getting humans into space, holy cow, did we invent a lot of stuff. A lot of life support and water purification and a lot of things that, frankly, hadn't ever really been considered or tackled to that degree. And all of a sudden you get the smartest people in the world trying to solve crazy problems. And you start to come up with solutions to things that you didn't even know you needed solutions to. I often say, like, if you were given limitless funds, how do you solve world hunger? You know, shouldn't that be a solvable thing? Obviously, there's no one on Earth that doesn't want that. You know, everyone wants people to be able to go to bed with a full tummy if they so desire. There's no reason that humans should be starving to death. There's no reason that people should be malnourished. Obviously, that is something that we would all like to solve. I think that's pretty universal. We'd all like to solve that. How do you do that? I have no idea. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that. But the thing you could maybe do, and I'm not saying this is the solution, but this could lead to breakthroughs. This could lead to tackling it in a roundabout way. How do you get a human to live on Mars? Mars is extremely inhospitable. You need to be there for so much time that you'd have to start producing your own food and living off of rations and producing food and developing calories in a way that's efficient, energy efficient, all of these things to get a human to live on Mars. You tackle that problem. You actually say, hey, we actually could get people to live off of Earth for 2 years. You get all these engineers, you get all these people sitting there going, yeah, we could actually do this. I bet you anything, there's a really, really good chance that the spin-off technologies to get humans to be able to live, completely off of our planet and on a hostile planet like Mars for 2 years, frankly, would trickle into some insane breakthroughs here on Earth as well. But I really do believe that, a perfect example of that is the Hubble Space Telescope. When we first launched Hubble in, 1986, it was released from the Space Shuttle Bay, it was turned on, and next thing you know, it's completely out of focus and basically worthless. And it was considered a huge flop at the time. It was ridiculed. Everyone's like, I cannot believe NASA, wasted all this money on this telescope that doesn't even work. And it was horrible. NASA was working on a fix. They're going to send up some servicing missions for Hubble and send up a new mirror that was ground properly so it's in focus and fix a few other things while they're at it. But meanwhile, there's a gap there between when they could actually send a replacement mirror up and actually get it properly operational. So they had a few years' time where they're like, hey, we really could be doing something with this data. Yes, it's not sharp, it's not perfect, but we probably could be doing something with the data from this fuzzy telescope. So a couple, people got together and they started looking at and made up an algorithm that could take the blurry images from Hubble that Hubble was receiving, and they kind of dissected it and made it so they could actually get usable data out of Hubble as is when it was out of focus. Okay, cool. So what? Well, next thing you know, that was published. Of course, it's public domain. This is something that NASA, did, and people researched, and yada, yada, yada. Next thing you know, it's out in the world, and someone took a look at these images and the improvement in the image quality and goes, you know what, that looks awfully familiar. I wonder if we could apply the same technique, the same algorithm to mammography to be able to try to catch breast cancer earlier. They applied that exact algorithm, that same very similar idea to their technique, and it made it so that ended up being able to clarify mammography so much that it potentially, I mean, that might have saved millions of lives at this point already. Being able to prevent and get earlier screening, more accurate data on potentially on tumors and things like that. So, no, is that a reason? Is that why we built Hubble? No, not at all. We did not build Hubble to improve cancer screening and improve images of tumors. No, that's not why you do those things. But you never know what happens when you get people together that are problem solving, really, tackling really hard issues, and pushing the boundaries and inventing things completely from the ether. That just, it's totally different than the normal cycle of technology. If you all of a sudden, we wouldn't have software if it wasn't for the Apollo program. Literally, think about software. Ever heard of software? How many people work with software, work on software, use software? I would say it's the very vast majority of humans alive today use software. Yep, you can pretty much thank the Apollo program for that. And especially the tech boom in the United States that happened after the Apollo program, because so many people were excited to work on spaceflight, to go work on the Apollo program, to work. They all went out and got aerospace engineering degrees. They got mathematics degrees. And all of a sudden you have this workforce in the United States, and we have this huge tech boom. We had all of a sudden, the leading computer boom, and all the software and hardware that we're so thankful and take for granted today more or less came out of the Apollo program. So, okay, I don't... And then the last part of this rant, why go to space, it is the border that we all share. Obviously, it's easy for us to look at our neighbor and, think, oh, well, they're not like us. It's easy for us to look at the town next door. You can kind of go back, if maybe you don't like your neighbor, but at the same time, you're all your neighbors. You're all in the same town. You're all from, I don't know, we'll say Cleveland or whatever. You're like, yeah, Cleveland's great, but Columbus, I don't like those Columbus people. But then all of a sudden, you zoom out, and it's like, well, Ohioans, people from Ohio, maybe they don't like Michigan or something, and it's like, oh, those darn Michiganders. But then it's like, well, zoom out again. The United States, we're all part of, they're all part of the United States. And it's like, well, United States, yeah, go America versus, I don't know, Soviet Union if it was in the space race. But let's zoom out one more time, and all of a sudden we have humans exploring without borders. When you get into space, there are no borders. It's literally humans versus the world. It's us going out and exploring the unknown together, pushing the boundaries of everything, of technology, of human endurance, of science, and our understanding of where we're at in the stars. I mean, at the end of the day, that is what matters the most. And to me, that's one of those, that's kind of the kumbaya, let's come together and sing a song together, because I really do think, in the future, we'll look back as oh man, yeah, we actually are just from this little tiny little dot in the vastness of the universe. This little itty-bitty thing, we all share it. The more and more people we get into space, and we start to explore other worlds, at some point we're going to have almost probably the conundrum of, well, yeah, now we're like, it's us versus the Martians, or us versus the people from planet 8641X1011b or whatever, it's, but that truly is that perspective of humans going out into space together, and that is the border that we all share. That's my rant.